Good afternoon and welcome to the Far Side. We're here on another episode of PharSide Pholios, and we are excited to celebrate Drop Everything and Read Month as well as National Poetry Month. And of course, we have Drop Everything and Read Month, National Poetry Month, and of course, School Librarian Month. So shout out to all of the amazing school librarians, whether you're at elementary, middle school, high school. We're excited to celebrate you and the wonderful work that you do at bringing books to the masses through the library. So today, as our special guest, we have award-winning author Sarah Branson, who was a midwife for close to 30 years, helping families welcome their little ones into their arms in the hospital, at a birth center, and at home. Now she writes tales of action, adventure, revenge, and romance, featuring airborne pirates. Her stories are set against the backdrop of an earth changed by fires, floods, and pandemics, but are firmly rooted in the strength and resiliency of the human spirit. Sarah first started conjuring up these stories of pirates when her family hopped a freighter to Australia when she was 7. She's since grown up, traveling extensively across the U.S., around the globe. She raised her family in Michigan, still longs to swim in the Sturgeon Bay and Little Traverse Bay. She worked as a receptionist, retail clerk, writing tutor, business owner, certified nurse, midwife. She's also taught science and history to middle school and high school students in the U.S., Brazil, and Japan. And through these myriad of experiences, she developed a deep appreciation for people's strength and endurance, and fully believed that badass women will inherit the earth and the earth will be better for it. So her debut novel that we're exploring today, A Married Life, has been honored as the 2022 Connecticut adult fiction winner by the Indie Author Project, and was the 2022 Kindle Book Award winner for science fiction, and was named a 2022 Book of the Year finalist in the action, adventure, and science fiction categories by the Independent Author Network. It is the first book in the series Pirates of New Earth. So the series continues with Navigating the Storm and Burn the Ship, and the exciting conclusion of the series, Blow the Man Down, launched on March 21st, 2023, and Sarah lives with her husband in Connecticut. Welcome to the Far Side with Sarah Branson.
Well, thank you so much, Monica, and I appreciate all the love that you're giving there.
All right. So speaking of Sarah Branson, the award-winning noted author extraordinaire, who are you as an author?
Who am I as an author? As an author, I'm relatively new to this process. Really just over the past 3 or 4 years have I started down the path of writing a book. And because when you're starting to write, there's a lot of imposter syndrome. So it really is only in the last couple of years that I thought, yes, that is who I am. I have kind of shifted myself from, I've been a midwife and now I'm an author. So I am kind of new, still feel like a newbie, and still feel like I'm learning so much about the process, not just the craft, but publishing and promotion and connection and all those things. So I guess as an author, I'm the lifelong learner.
And then you kind of moved not just into, all of the different genres that you could possibly, you could have written chick lit, you could have written a mystery or a sci-fi or a true crime, but you kind of found yourself in this kind of adventure kind of genre. So what got you into that specific genre versus any of the others that you could read or Right.
My protagonist did. Cat Wallace did. The story started with her, and I was working through the pandemic at Danbury Birth Center, which was an hour and a half from my home. So I was making a long commute several times a week, and that's about an hour and a half. And there's only so many, you can listen to lots of audiobooks and music and podcasts, but eventually you turn it off and you're there with your head. And at some point, Kat just kind of hopped into the passenger seat and had a story to tell. And that was her story. When I first wrote it and was talking with an editor about it, the editor was going, well, this is science fiction. It's like, well, is it? And he said, well, yeah, because it's set in the future. It's like, I just thought more of it like historical fiction, just hasn't happened yet. But I have since embraced it. And it's like, yeah, with some of the authors that I really love, I can see where that inspiration came from. So it is surprising to people because they do say, oh, you've been a midwife, so you must be writing about mamas and babies. And it's like, no, pirates. And I think especially through the pandemic and especially right now in our world, having a little bit of an escape, but also an escape and an adventure that also has some sense of hope to it is important. And while I didn't start out to go, I have to, send this message of hope, that was Kat's story. And so that's how I got into the genre I am. And I love Bosch, and I love the area that the universe that has been created. So I'll probably stay there for a while.
So did you know at the onset that this, Cat story would turn into a full-blown series?
Well, the onset was as I kind of played make-believe and, thought about the story. And initially it was just kind of something that was in my own head. And then finally it's like, I think I'll put it on paper. And once I started putting it on paper or on computer paper, it ended up being like this 110,000 word, kind of James Joycean, to stream of consciousness that as I had other people look at it, they're going, yeah, it needs like a narrative arc and a plot, but that there were three distinct kind of stories in there. And the realization that it really was, there were at least three stories. And so I always knew from the beginning at that point, once I got to there, that this was going to be a series, that I was going to tell the first story of Cat, and then the next, and then the next, and then I needed to bring it to a conclusion with the fourth. So I had thought about 5 or 6 books, but four felt like it was the right number.
So what made you know that, okay, book 4 is the stopping point? There's nothing left to cover. We've developed all the characters, all of the stories. There's nothing else. So what brought you to the end of 4?
I don't, in my world, I could tell Cat stories forever because I love her and she's an exciting character. But for the arc that she was on, readers were I realize readers are gonna get to a point where it's like I need to know what happens in this particular situation, and with this particular antagonist, and it was really kind of one of the issues. So the arc was, I knew where she had to get to, and I knew where her antagonist had to get to, and then I needed to get them to connect up. And so I knew 4 books was the right number. And I feel like if I had tried to drag it out for 6 or 8 or so, probably readers would be going like, come on, you gotta get there sometime. And, I was ready to get there as well, and let her have her, see what the resolution was going to be.
Yeah, the book opens up, Married Life, the book 1 of the series opens up kind of with that girls on the run type of a scene. You got Kat, Carissa, they're making headway until their thrall names are called. Now, how does that scene, so how does Kat kind of handle her own fear when, dealing and sensing the fear she sees, in others, because she seems to
She's
be really sensitive, or being able to really pick up on the feelings of others.
and Kat did not have an easy childhood and had to learn, and it's this backstory, but she had to learn to read the room really well to be able to stay safe. And so she is very sensitive to other people's feelings. And so in her running with Carissa, she recognizes, Carissa's fear, and Carissa freezes. And, she wants to bring her along, but she knows that if she's going to be safe, she has to leave her behind. And she always has concerns and regrets about that, which develop later in the series.
And so will that skill of kind of being aware, that awareness of others' feelings, will that tend to help Kat throughout the story, or will that, cause her, some trouble down the road?
Yes. I would say yes to that. I mean, Kat is, she's a bit of a mess. And as we all are, and, sometimes the things that are her strengths, and just like the rest of us, sometimes the things that are our strengths we fight against because we, want to be somebody different. And a lot of times she becomes very angry, and instead of using her ability to sense other people's feelings, she just kind of lashes out. But as she grows and as she matures, being able to connect with other people and kind of understand how they're feeling makes a huge difference in ultimately her arc and her career with the Bosch and the Pirates.
Now, they're coming into this, coming into town, in town with these guards when they're, initially the way the story starts off. They've got, these girls have these guards, and why was there a need for the girls to be sent to town with a guard?
Well, they were sent to town with a guard because they are thralls. They're enslaved people, and Kat in particular has a reputation for trying to make a run for it, and so she, they're wanting to keep an eye on her. But they're being sent to town not only to do the work that they are ostensibly assigned to do, which is pick up garden supplies, but they're also sent in with more kind of sexy clothes on, and she knows that they're being, there's more to her work, as a thrall, or the things that are required as a thrall, than just tending the gardens. And she doesn't like that, and she wants to get away from it.
Now we're talking about Kat, this main character, Kat. She's experienced like some form of trauma that the reader's able to see kind of early on, and she's trying to push it back in her mind and not talk about it. So it's like you see that there's something else there. Will she be able to kind of address, and heal from that trauma, or that readers will see that what that event or trauma was? That that she'll get to that place where does that event that we see her thinking about, that she has not yet revealed, kind of change her approach to things, as
it does. Absolutely. She has a particular traumatic event that she is locked away because it's too painful for her, and it affects her, and it affects her relationships, and it affects how she deals with other people, particularly her family, as she gets older and has a family of her own. But we do end up seeing, eventually she will have a chance to address that, and she gets help with addressing it as well. But it does end up coming out in kind of a powerful way. during in book 3, I believe.
Okay. So without giving, I know it's a challenge. This is a challenging question. Without giving the full story away, can you provide, our live audience viewers and those who'll catch it by replay with the kind of the premise of A Merry Life?
Well, A Merry Life is the story about Cat Wallace, who starts out her life as an enslaved young woman with a very sadistic owner, and who, because of how she was raised and some of the trauma that was in her childhood, she is kind of hardwired to survive, and she decides to get herself free in whatever way she possibly can. And she ends up stowing away on a air vessel, an airship that happens to belong to the leader of a nation of a small nation of pirates. And they were pirates, seaborne pirates, a good couple hundred years ago, but they have now settled on an island, and they now fly, and they do booming business in a drug called glitter, as well as providing extractions for people around the world, other governments around the world, and doing a few other little heists on the side. And so she is, in coming to Bosch, she finds a family, and in finding that family, she also has to start growing up. And in growing up, she's a very angry, headstrong person. And we watch, part of it is just watching her grow and seeing the things that happen to her along the way that help her grow. And help her actually connect to having a home and having a family. And we also get to see wonderful adventures that she has, as well as relationships that work and some that don't.
And you set this story out into the future, way into the future. 2349 to be exact.
Yeah.
So what, it's just 2023 right now. So what does the future in the spring of 2349 look, feel, or sound like?
Well, the world has been changed at that point. There have been the fires, the floods, the pandemics. There's been famine. The human population has been significantly reduced. Governments have crumbled in some places. In other places, they've kind of become more centralized and keeping others out. Not that fires, floods, pandemics should sound familiar to any of us. It's like, it's a little close, but yeah. And so the world at this point, there's far fewer people, but humans are, resilient. And so they have pulled together, and, it is not a Mad Max kind of world. They are, rebuilding and regrouping, but the world is generally, and in particular the Bosch, are very careful about not making them same mistakes of the past. And so it is a world that's, a little bit pastoral. We don't have, while we do have vehicles, we're not going to have gasoline powered. They're not going to use fossil fuels, except for, some places that are very remote that, don't really care. Like the North Country, where Kat came from, still uses coal. So the world is, there are parts of it that are very isolated, but there's also places that are connected. We don't have the United States anymore, but we do have the Federal Alliance, which, has kind of grown up in kind of the area of the United States, at least on the East Coast, and they are trying to expand and, create alliances with other countries and other settlements around the world. We have the country of Edo, which was, the old name for Japan and is now the new name for Japan. And they became far more insular during the pandemics and the fires and the floods, but they are now reaching out and being part of the FA, but also keeping, their own ways. So it's a world where there are some things that are familiar, but some things that are very different. We're flying in airships that are not diesel fueled or even biofueled. So it tends to be a more environmentally kind of sustainable place for most people. There are certainly groups of people that don't care about that, because, as there will be, right? There are people that are like, well, this is our world. We need to just use it up. And so there are those as well. I really feel like it's, in many ways, it kind of has a, old-fashioned feel to it, but with some new technology associated. I also kind of think of it as, it's the hopeful, what they call hope punk. This is for me, Bosch is kind of my little utopia. So it is a place where it's very sustainable, it's very diverse, it's very accepting, it's very, people are, they might be pirates and they might be kind of boisterous and such, but they're good people.
Do you feel like you found your, with Bosch being this community and a tribe and place of people that kind of, you've got diversity in all of the kinds of aspects of this world, of this community. Do you feel that, and it's become your utopia? Is this kind of your global viewpoint, or are you sharing like what you'd like to see in the world?
That's what I'd like to see in the world, where it is just, it is an accepting, people are people, get there, it doesn't matter whether what your skin color is or what your sexual orientation is or those kinds of things, because that's a very, fully accepted thing in Bosch, in all those ways. And that which doesn't mean they don't have their own prejudices about people that aren't Bosch and aren't pirates, but I like them. They're people that even if they have some problematic views, because I think there are some problematic things about Bosch. Peddling glitter is probably problematic, and but they are ultimately, they're good people who want to help other people, but they are also pretty, they can be very violent as well, and that part is not part of the utopia, but
So do you feel like as a writer that you found your niche in this kind of adventure, sci-fi, dystopian type of fiction, or are there other genres that you think you'd like to explore further in your writing?
I would love to explore some other ones, although I love Bosch. I had the opportunity to do a short story for an anthology for Mothers, A Million Ways. It's the stories of motherhood. So I got to write a story. And of course, it's like stories of motherhood. I know that stuff. 30 years of being a midwife, I got that. And so I got to write a lovely midwife story. I did, however, put it in Bosch. And so, that story was still there. I'm working right now on like a little romantic novella, but it's actually based in Bosch. And I'm also writing a spinoff right now, a YA one that, has Kat's daughter as the protagonist. So,
all right. Okay.
So yes, other things, but yes, the same place.
All right. So we'll have, your readers will have a familiar setting to connect to, because we'll be familiar with Bosch through, A Merry Life and the series, and then we'll return to Bosch in the short story and the novella. So,
okay.
For some reason, my computer wanted to talk to me during that. Yes. So, why are you talking to me, computer? So, yes, from the point that I heard, that's exactly it. It will be a familiar place, and I think it's because I really like it. I like the way the world works in Bosch and in New Earth. even though there are some, negative parts of it, I mean, there's negative parts of our world now. So there's a lot of negative parts of our world now. But um, but yeah, I probably will mostly always stay in Bosch, although who knows? I read a few stories and I think maybe I should just, try doing something different, but we'll see. Again, I'm a newbie.
Well, you got it. Expanding lane of, possibilities in your writing. So that's awesome to hear. And readers will be able to look forward to that. Sometimes when, we, as readers, when we're in a series and gotten into a series, we see the characters kind of moving, and fade out from, book to book, as new characters, maybe new plot twists or storylines are introduced. How do you, as an author, maintain a consistency, with the story, with character development within the series, so that, readers maintain their connection from book one throughout the series to the end of the series?
To some extent, it's because I knew where I was going and I knew who was going to be there at the end too, and what was going to be what happened to him. And so, developing some of the additional characters along the way, but also dropping in a few Easter eggs about characters in the early books. Helps as well. So there are characters that there are plenty of stories that kind of develop with not just with Kat and her as a main character, but with the secondary characters that could be great stories in and of themselves, as you move along. And that's the like the Carissa idea. She disappears in book one, but that doesn't mean she disappears completely. So
okay. All right, you got that little secret nugget dropped right there. So definitely those who are watching live and those who catch the replay, we are here on the far side talking with author Sarah Branson about A Married Life, which is book one in this phenomenal series. And like when we're what is something that you hope readers will take away or think about from A Married Life, or from the whole series, or something they'll take away from reading the series?
Yeah, from A Married Life, I want them to kind of take away the thoughts of what does it mean to be a family? What does it mean to do for your family and sacrifice for your family? How could we have a community like Bosch? What does our world have to do to get to the place that Bosch is? And I suspect most people that read my books are going to go, yeah, how do we get a community like Bosch? Because I suspect those who go like, no, we don't want that, are going to be gone early on in the book. And trauma plays a big role for Kat. And I think one of the other things in book one is, how does trauma affect us? And how is it affecting this character? And in the whole book, the whole series, it's just, how do we grow? How do we, what steps do we have to take to look at our own trauma and look at our own lives to be able to grow, to become the person that we need to be?
Yeah, you shared some about your writing journey, going from, midwifery to, jumping into this writing process journey. What is something that you've kind of learned about yourself as a writer, now that you've published, several titles, and then you've got these recognitions? 2022 sounds like it was a great year for you, as far as recognitions that you received for your writing. As you first started writing, was something you've kind of learned about yourself?
I learned that I can reinvent myself. That you're always capable of growth and change and learning. I also learned in the whole process of the writing is that nothing's going to happen unless you make it happen. So, that's if, I if I had just thought about a book, I wouldn't have a book out. But if you finding the right people to support you and that kind of thing, and I have discovered that I really enjoy this process, and even the process of promoting it, which I thought, no, I would never ever want to like to do that, but I do, and I think it's because I really believe in the story, and I've had so much fun feeling myself grow as a person through this process.
So as a writer, I'm sure you talked about listening to podcasts on the long drive or listening to audiobooks. So who are you listening to or reading now?
Who am I listening to? Actually, right now on the way home, because I just drove back from Philadelphia area, I was listening to, and I'm not going to get the author's name. I think it's like Fraken. It's a nonfiction book called 438 Days about a man who was lost. It's a nonfiction about a man who was lost at sea for 438 days, and there's specific reasons why I'm listening to that for a story I'm writing. But I just finished listening to a Dennis Taylor book. Sitting on my bedside table, I've got the new Emily St. John Mandel book, and I went to Main Point Books in outside of Philadelphia when they were having their 10th birthday party for Indie Bookstore Day, and I bought a bunch of books, so I got those on it as well. So.
Awesome. A great way to support your indie authors is to purchase their books and make sure that they're in your bookstore, and ask for them. Ask for them at your public libraries and where you get books. Ask for the titles.
Exactly.
So definitely our replay viewers and live viewers, make sure that you ask.
That's right.
You ask for a merry life. You're going to enjoy the journey, enjoy the ride with Kat Wallace as she discovers, herself and who she is and what she has the capacity to do and become, and all the things that are going to be revealed, not just in book one, but throughout the series. So we're kicking off, our reading of this series with A Merry Life, which is book one, of course. We're going to start off with the book one. You're going to drop everything and read, and you're going to pick up book one, which is A Merry Life. So top three, give us your top three favorite reads in your genre. So,
top three favorite reads in my genre. Let's see. Parable by Octavia Butler. Station 11. Again, I was saying, just Emily St. John Mandel. I'm thinking about the ones that kind of inspire, that I've felt a lot of inspiration for this series. Kindred, certainly too. So because you have the climate change and Parable, and you've got the issue of enslavement in Kindred, and then you have the kind of that post-apocalyptic world in Station 11, and they all, those things all kind of play together, and I'm sure have influenced.
Oh, awesome. So for our viewers, live viewers, and those who will catch the replay, can you tell us how they can connect and follow you on social media and where they need to go to purchase their books?
Well, I am on Instagram and I'm on Facebook as author Sarah Branson. Easy to find there. And you can also go to my website, sarahbranson.com, and there's links to all of those social media things. You can buy my physical books anywhere books are sold. Just ask for them. You can also go to Bookshop and support your independent bookstores. You can get through Barnes and Noble. For my ebooks, I am currently on Kindle Unlimited, so I'm in my relationship there. And also you can get the physical book through the Amazon behemoth as well. So any place you can get it. And the first two books are out on audiobook as well, wherever audiobooks. And as soon as my beautiful, beautiful, talented narrator has time, because she's incredibly busy, she's going to get the book 3 and 4 on audiobook as well.
Oh, right. That is awesome news being revealed by our guest author, Sarah Branson. And so I'd like to thank Miss Sarah Branson for spending time with us this afternoon. And we definitely wish you continued success, not just with the married life, but the whole series. And we are grateful for the time that you spent with us and all the wonderful projects you have to come. So definitely follow Sarah on her social media, on Facebook, on Instagram. Reach out to her website so you know what she's got going on, because of course, I mean, there's a whole series, and so you definitely want to know what's coming next and what to look out for, and the heads up on anything new that she may be doing. So thank you so much for spending this afternoon with us, Sarah Branson. And so for our live viewers and those who are catching us by replay, make sure you're staying tuned to the PharSide Co-Ed Book Club Facebook page for more author interviews and posts as we round out, and we're closing out our National Poetry Month, School Library Month, and Drop Everything and Read Month during this amazing month it has been of April. So until next time, many roots, many voices are a part of the infinite story. Plant your seed and have a great and wonderful afternoon.
Thank you, Monica.